Welcome to bakingmad.com. I'm here to show you one of the new recipes from my book Cakeology, and it's really fun, really simple. We're going to start off by making our sponge. I've got some room temperature butter, 200 grams, 200 grams of unrefined golden caster sugar. So first of all, I'm just going to give that a good old cream just to make sure it's really nice and dissolved. I'm going to add my Nielsen Massey vanilla bean paste at this stage as well, just to kind of really smash in that flavour. Beat together for a few minutes until the mixture goes creamy and pale. So that's all done. As you can see, it's kind of gone a bit paler. It's not quite so yellow now. So I'm going to add the eggs. I've got 4 eggs just beaten here. So just add them a little bit at a time, just till it kind of mixes in. If it curdles a bit, don't worry. It's not the end of the world. When you put the flour in, it'll all come together. Once the egg is incorporated, slowly add 200 grams of self-raising flour. There we go. So that's ready to go. It's now time to fill your cupcake foils. I'm using a standard muffin size. As we'll be topping these later, only fill them halfway as we want a nice flat top. If they do start to rise too much, give them a gentle pat with an oven glove halfway through cooking. Bake for 160 fan, 180 conventional for about 12 to 15 minutes. Okay, so my cupcakes are out the oven, they're completely cooled down, and it's time to add the fondant to the top. Quite simple to do this. I've got some silver spoon fondant icing sugar. I've added a little bit of water to it, and just until it gets the right consistency. So I'm looking for it to be runny. I can't say it's like kind of almost like a syrup consistency we're looking for. So when you mix this in, just very, very gently do it with a spoon. Don't add too much air to it. And once you've got your colour mixed in, you can just very, very gently stir the spoon just to eliminate any air bubbles, because that's going to be the enemy here. The air bubble is the enemy of the fondant cupcake, I think. So take your cake. As you can see, I've already pinched off a few of the tops of these when they came out of the oven. So just take a spoon, and I'm just going to allow this to drop onto the top of the cake. It's nice and thick, so it's not running all over the place, and I can see how much I need. So you just want to add it and stop until you think you've got just enough, because you'll find it just settles down a tiny bit more than you thought. So now what I'm going to do, just bang this onto the table. So when I do this, it's going to make sure it sits nice and flat, but also any air bubbles that are present, they're going to come to the surface now. And you can see I've got a few bubbles on here, so just with if you have a pin tool, use that. If not, the end of a sharp knife. You can even use your fingers if you want to. Just popping those and giving it another bang. Once you've put your fondant on the rest of your cupcakes, leave for a couple of hours to set. So I'm going to show you how to do the decorations on these Woodland cakes. They're really, really easy. You don't need a lot of equipment. So I'm going to show you first of all how to make the fox. So I've got a small cutter. I'm just going to start to make the body by cutting out a round. So that's the main part of the body. And for his ears, I'm just going to use this rose leaf cutter. You could use anything really that's kind of got a teardrop shape. So just make 2 cuts just with the tops, just to create the ears. And what I'm going to do is just fold those in, and that's giving me my kind of cute little foxy ear shapes. Using a tiny bit of water, just attach those to the top of the circle, just like that. There we go. And for his little chest, I'm going to use again the same cutter here, and just using the round cutter, just chop that off, just to make the kind of white part, and place that on top. Okay, so now I'm just going to use a little polka dot cutter and just make 2 circles, and I'm making his eyes. So just plunge out a couple of pieces of white sugar paste and just pop those on just underneath the ears. So it really is easy, it's just cutting and sticking really. It's quite fun, really simple to do. And now I'm just going to use the same cutter to make 2 little feet. There we go, and just again, a tiny bit of water just to stick them on. So now time to do his tail and his nose. So just a tiny bit of hand moulding here, a little bit of the paste, roll it between my hands, and just kind of make it into a bit of a sausage, and then just thin it off at the end, just to make his kind of curly tail. So using a bit of water if you need to, just to the side. I'm just going to stick that there and just curl it round, and add a tiny bit of white just for the detail at the end of the tail. And then for the nose, again, fairly small ball, just roll that between my palms and just make that into a little cone shape. So that's his face there. Tiny bit of water. And now just bringing him to life with the detail. So you can either use royal icing, I've got some royal icing here, or even a small ball of sugar paste. For the nose, I'm just going to do a tiny little ball there and just attach that here. And if you haven't got royal icing, you don't have to use that for the eyes, but I prefer to do that for really small details. I've got a tiny bit of royal icing in a number 2 nozzle, so it's very, very small. Just to do 2 little dots just there, the detail, and then finishing off with a little bit of white royal icing, just to add a few lines, just to make kind of claws at the front. So you could leave these to dry, they're a bit easier to handle. So once you've done that, just take your cupcakes, tiny bit of royal icing just to help him to stick. So here's one I've made earlier. I've just popped him on there like that. And he's all done. So there you have my Woodland cupcakes. Continue decorating the rest using the same principles. Copy the ones from my book, or why not make up a few of your own.